Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating and honestly deeply important perspective on the concept of safety. When we hear the word safety, especially during National Safety Month, most of us instantly picture physical protection, right? Things like wearing helmets, locking doors, preventing bodily harm. But today, we're going to explore why true safety in autism support goes way, way beyond just physical protection. We're going to unpack some clinical insights that reveal why safety actually begins right inside the nervous system.
Okay, so let's dive right into this pretty provocative question. It's a complete paradigm shifter that challenges basically everything we traditionally associate with autism and behavioral support. What if the actions we typically label as behavior problems are actually just a distress signal from a completely overwhelmed nervous system? Seriously, this single question transforms our entire approach to care, and it's the foundation of everything we'll be breaking down for you today.
Section 1. Redefining safety in autism. To truly grasp this, we've got to start by fundamentally redefining what safety actually means for autistic children, teens, and adults in their daily lives.
The source material brilliantly contrasts our traditional view of physical safety, which, let's be clear, is absolutely necessary, with a much deeper need: emotional safety. This means nervous system stability, sensory regulation, and actually feeling safe enough to communicate without the fear of shame. For instance, a child who shuts down might just not feel safe enough to communicate, or a teen who is overwhelmed in a noisy classroom simply may not feel safe enough to regulate their emotions. We absolutely have to move from merely preventing physical harm to fostering deep emotional and sensory safety within the nervous system.
So, to understand exactly how clinicians actually facilitate this shift, we look at a model called Polyvagal-informed cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. Now, polyvagal simply refers to the vagus nerve. Think of it as our body's built-in biological threat detection system. This clinical perspective combines your traditional cognitive strategies with a really deep awareness of that nervous system. It's built on a core, undeniable recognition. You literally cannot separate a person's behavior from their nervous system state. If the nervous system is in full-blown panic mode, cognitive reasoning goes right out the window. Emotional regulation is directly connected to how physically and biologically safe our nervous system feels in any given moment. So, the absolutely crucial point here is that true mental health care means moving away from those rigid, compliance-based models where the whole goal is just changing who someone is to fit societal expectations. Instead, the focus completely shifts to connection-based, neuroaffirming support. The goal is to help individuals thrive exactly as they are. It's not about changing the person, it's about creating an environment where they have enough nervous system stability for real, authentic growth to happen.
Section 2. Behavior is stress communication. This brings us to a really critical realization about how we perceive actions and reactions. We need to start viewing behavior as stress communication.
We're seeing a massive shift in mindset here. Instead of looking at an individual and asking, okay, what behavior needs to stop? Clinicians, educators, and caregivers are encouraged to ask a much better question. What is the nervous system communicating right now? This completely flips clinical care from a dynamic of punishment and control into one of curiosity and deep compassion.
And when we apply that compassionate lens, we can start to see common signs for what they really are. Things like dysregulation, refusing tasks, pacing, scripting, or just completely withdrawing and shutting down. These actions are so frequently misunderstood as defiance or noncompliance, but through a nervous system lens, they are clear, undeniable expressions of stress. Think of it like a biological smoke alarm going off in the brain. It is the body's way of screaming, I am overwhelmed and I do not feel safe.
Section 3. Stress and executive functioning. Let's see how this nervous system approach naturally builds into everyday challenges surrounding executive functioning, which, let's face it, are so often totally misunderstood.
It is absolutely fascinating to unpack the myth-busting reality presented here. Executive functioning challenges are frequently and completely incorrectly judged as a lack of motivation or simple laziness. But the reality is, executive functioning is deeply biologically connected to a person's stress load and their overall nervous system regulation.
So, an autistic individual might struggle with initiating tasks, transitioning between different activities, planning, or just working memory in general. And here's the major takeaway. When an autistic person's stress load increases, their capacity for these executive functioning skills drastically decreases. It's not that they won't do the task. It's that under high stress, their brain is like a computer with 40 tabs open. It literally cannot process the steps to execute it right then. The incredibly empowering takeaway from all this is that we can actively support individuals by modifying the environment, by reducing unnecessary cognitive load, offering predictable visual supports, breaking big tasks down into bite-sized, manageable steps, and just allowing for adequate processing time. We fit the environment to the person. Doing this doesn't lower our expectations of them, rather it creates access. It removes those invisible barriers so they can truly succeed.
Section 4, Sensory Safety and Adult Burnout. Now, of course, the need for this kind of safety doesn't just magically vanish when someone turns 18, which brings us to sensory safety and adult burnout.
There's a quote from the source material that really hits the nail on the head. Sensory accommodations are not extras. For an autistic nervous system, things like harsh fluorescent lights, crowded waiting rooms, super loud environments, or rapid-fire conversation aren't just annoying, they cause major biological stress. Because of this, providing low-stimulation environments, sensory breaks, or written supports aren't just polite favors. They are absolutely essential mental health supports for baseline functioning. Because autistic adults are frequently left out of mental health conversations entirely, many have spent years, if not decades, masking their traits. They've suppressed their sensory needs just to survive in environments that were literally never designed for them. It's kind of like holding your breath underwater for hours on end. And the cost of this masking is severe. We're talking chronic anxiety, deep emotional exhaustion, severe identity confusion, and ultimately, a crushing state of burnout and executive functioning overwhelm.
And that is exactly why adult-focused care is so vital. Clinicians who truly understand autistic burnout don't try to teach adults how to mask better. Instead, they help them move from pure survival mode into sustainable functioning. They do this through targeted strategies like burnout prevention planning, developing self-advocacy skills, providing identity-affirming support, and helping them navigate workplace and relationship dynamics in a way that truly honors their nervous system.
Section 5, Bridging Care and Community. Finally, how do we put this all together? Like, how do we take these clinical concepts and make them a reality for families in the broader community?
Well, it starts with supporting the caregivers. Caregivers carry tremendous emotional stress, right? Providing neuroaffirming education helps them completely reframe how they view their loved one's behavior, shifting from that old punishment lens directly to a nervous system lens. This massively reduces caregiver shame and helps build vital co-regulation strategies. Basically, the caregiver learns how their own calm nervous system can actually help anchor and soothe their child's stressed nervous system.
To see what this actually looks like in practice, the source material points to organizations like Upstate Carolina Autism Associates. They are a clinical team totally dedicated to providing this exact type of compassionate, evidence-informed mental health support, and they are actively bridging the gap between clinical care, real connection, and community integration.
Operating across Upstate South Carolina, they offer a really comprehensive suite of services. From neuroaffirming therapy for all ages and that Polyvagal-informed CBT we talked about earlier, to dedicated caregiver coaching and executive functioning support. They even foster real-world community connection through their NeuroConnect program, ensuring families simply don't have to navigate this journey in isolation.
This brings us to a deeply personal question to reflect on today. Whether you are neurodivergent yourself, a caregiver, a clinician, or honestly, just someone wanting to be a better friend, what helps your nervous system feel safe? Because when we start prioritizing environments where people feel safe enough to regulate and connect authentically, well, that is where real, sustainable growth happens.
If you or your family are looking for mental health support that truly respects neurodiversity, you can explore Upstate Carolina Autism Associates online or call and text their office to continue this journey. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. Remember that safety is not just the absence of danger, it's the presence of connection. So as you move through your day, ask yourself, how are you actively creating nervous system safety for the people around you? Thank you so much for learning with us today.